8 things non-Muslims believe but are not true. 1. In Allah's name, the living become dead, but in Jesus' name, the dead become alive. What does this mean? In the Quran, God is described as the one who gives life and death. Example, Quran 3:156. Allah gives life and causes death. In the Bible, Jesus Christ raises people from the dead, like Lazarus in John 11. Important context, Islam also believes Jesus raised the dead. Example, Quran 3:49 says Jesus healed the blind and raised the dead by Allah's permission. Conclusion, the claim is misleading. Islam does not deny Jesus raising the dead. It says he did so with God's permission. 2. Muhammad said, "Kill infidels." Jesus said, "Love your enemies." The verse often quoted. Critics usually cite Quran 9:5, sometimes called the sword verse. But the context is war with tribes that broke treaties and attacked Muslims. Another verse says, Quran 68, God does not forbid kindness and justice to those who do not fight you. Jesus' teaching. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "Love your enemies." Matthew 5:44. Historical context. Jesus was not a political leader or military leader. Muhammad was both a religious and state leader, so warfare occurred. Conclusion. Partially true but missing context. Islam allows warfare in specific circumstances, not indiscriminate killing. 3. Muhammad cursed Jews and Christians before dying. There is a hadith where Muhammad said, "May Allah curse the Jews and Christians for taking the graves of their prophets as places of worship." Context. He was warning Muslims not to turn graves into shrines. Meanwhile, Jesus saying, "Father, forgive them." Luke 23:34. Conclusion. Both statements exist, but they refer to different situations. Muhammad's statement was a theological warning about grave worship, not a blanket hatred of all Jews and Christians. In fact, the Quran says, Quran 5:82, some Christians are closest in love to Muslims. 4. Muhammad stoned an adulteress while Jesus forgave one. In Islamic law, adultery by married people can be punished by stoning, based on hadith and early Islamic law. In the Bible story, John 8, Jesus says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." However, in the Old Testament, adultery was also punishable by death. Example, Leviticus 20:10, adulterers should be put to death. Conclusion, misleading comparison. The law of Moses also required death for adultery. Jesus' response in that moment emphasized mercy. 5. Muhammad had 11 wives and raped slaves. Muhammad had multiple wives, around 11 over time. This is historically documented. But the claim of rape is debated and often exaggerated. In the 7th century, slavery existed everywhere, including Roman world, Persian Empire, biblical societies. The Bible also regulates slavery. Example, Exodus 21 allows ownership of slaves. Islamic law allowed relations with female slaves, but also encouraged freeing them. Conclusion. Historically true about multiple wives. The accusation of rape is a modern interpretation of ancient slavery norms. 6. Muhammad said, "Beat your wives." This refers to Quran 4:34. Some translations say, "Strike them." However, classical scholars often interpreted it as symbolic/light tap, last step after mediation. Many modern scholars say it should not be physical harm. Muhammad himself reportedly said, "The best of you are those who are best to their wives." Conclusion. Verse exists, but interpretation is heavily debated. 7. Muhammad started 84 wars in 12 years. Historians usually count around 27 expeditions where Muhammad was present. Most were raids or defensive battles, common in Arabian tribal warfare. Key battles include Battle of Badr, Battle of Uhud, Battle of the Trench. Conclusion: the number 84 wars is exaggerated. 8. Muhammad is dead, but Jesus is alive. Islam and Christianity interpret this differently. Christians believe Jesus rose from the dead and is alive. Islam teaches that Jesus was not crucified. He was raised to heaven. He will return before the end of time. So Muslims also believe Jesus is alive in heaven. Conclusion: this depends on theology.